Hello, everyone. My name is Brenda Katwesije. I am the co-founder and CEO of Wazi in Uganda. And I would like to recognize my co-founder, Georgette, who is also on this call. So Wazi, as a company, designs, manufactures, and through its partners, distributes eyewear in East Africa. We are actually the first made in Africa prescription eyewear in sub-Saharan Africa, outside of South Africa. So just yesterday, I spoke to a friend from Zambia who told me about her 12-year-old sister who had just got eyeglasses for the first time. And this was the first time that her sister actually saw the texture of a leaf. That's something that I used to take for granted, actually. So what I found out actually through this conversation was that her sister, her pair of eyeglasses had cost her about $180. And even though the quality was okay, the price was not. And this is a problem that is pervasive across many countries on the continent. And Wazi wants to tackle that problem country by country, starting in Uganda. The costs of eyewear are actually exacerbated by the high costs of importation. In Uganda, it's about 50% in tax on a pair of eyeglasses, prescription eyeglasses, and supply chain disruptions that have happened over the last couple of years due to COVID-19 have actually not made things any better. The good or average quality eyewear is often expensive. And when you look at the context of countries like Uganda, where the average annual household income can be as low as $300, that can be a steep price point for most people. And yet, cheaper alternatives that have been marketed are often of low quality and usually do more harm than good and often leave patients with no dignity of choice. The other issue that we see in the eye care space is that eyewear is actually not made for African facial features. So most companies don't have the African face in mind, and most glasses are usually made for European or Asian faces. So as a result, the weight is distributed onto African faces differently, and this hurts the overall well-being of patients. And so between 2019 and 2020, over 3 million eyeglasses were imported into Uganda. We want to be a better alternative, not just in Uganda, but for over 500 million people in Africa that are in need of eyeglasses. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about Wazi on the next slide, please. Thank you. Wazi is the first prescription eyewear brand that is designed, created, and manufactured and distributed in East Africa. Our pride really is that we are that middle ground between quality, using the best materials, and cost. So we give people an alternative to both high or average quality eyeglasses that are very expensive and low quality eyeglasses that are cheap in the sense of the word cheap. However, we are also working with a host of local artists that are highlighting their African ingenuity and creativity to bring these glasses to life. We are working hand in hand with them, over 120 of them, to speak the language of Africa and to also take into consideration the African facial features. We are creating an inclusive line of eyewear that can be worn comfortably by people in Africa and people with African facial features. So we are giving people diversity and dignity of choice because we have a lot of designs, but we also have designs that are considerate of price, of quality, but also of how people feel. Eyeglasses are not just a health accessory. They are also a fashion accessory in a way. So when people want to look good, people want to feel good every time that they wear a pair of glasses. Next slide. Yeah, so I'm just really excited to share with you the progress that we have made today ever since we started working with the Assistive Impact Fund in February of this year. So it's been about 9 months since we started working together, and so much has changed. Literally, when we met, we were just like a baby trying to crawl, and now we are ready to run, we are ready to scale, and we are so excited. We have pivoted our manufacturing process. Previously, we had a manufacturing process that was not efficient. It was costing us about $5,000 to just come up with one design, one size. Now we can create a new design just like that in a couple of hours, and it's off the manufacturing chain. So we are just so excited because this has increased efficiency, and overall it's enabling us to create more designs and work better with the people that design these glasses. Overall, we're giving customers better value. We are also, we've worked on a distributor-led strategy that Eti and the venture building team has helped us craft. And this is at the center of our path to scale. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that shortly. We also pride ourselves in the unique designs that have been created by over the 120 African artists that are telling stories of Uganda, of Nigeria, of Kenya through the eyeglasses that we are going to launch shortly. Also, our glasses are inclusive. So before they were not nearly inclusive enough. We had basic designs, they were generic, and they weren't really considering the features of the African nose. And through the learnings with Eti Impact Fund, we have found that there's unique value in delivering that to customers. And also, it goes without saying that our team has grown from a very small team to we have 5 new people. So our team is now 7 people, and we worked with over 12 venture builders in the first 6 months of our engagement with Eti Impact Fund. And this has given us support across all the different areas of our business, which would not have been possible without the Eti Impact Fund. And because of that, we have created a new positioning for our brand. We can now be recognized in the market as a leader when it comes to inclusivity, as a leader when it comes to actually locally producing something that was not done before. Next slide. Yeah, so I've already spoken about some of the achievements we have had, the key highlights, but the thing that I would like to speak the most about is our distribution strategy, right? So we have spoken to a couple of distributors across the country, one of which is actually a telemedicine company, which sees over 1,000 patients per day. We also think that these distributors are key to how we get to more customers. Alone, we can't really do much, but with them, we can do a lot. So we have 3 new distributor partnerships with 10 in the pipeline, and across the country, they have over 15 outlets. And we plan to replicate that across the country and eventually across Africa. I've already mentioned that we have new team members, but what that helps us is that we are able to not only create a new way to produce these glasses, but also the team is helping us to go to market. So our hires have been very critical, and they have been very, very intentional on where we want to go. The next slide. Yeah, so in order for us to grow, we identified early on this year, working with the Eti Impact Fund, that 2 major things needed to change. The first thing was how we produce, and the second thing was how we get our products to customers. So that is exactly why we set up a new production facility in Kampala. COVID-19 lockdowns notwithstanding, we had quite a number of those in Uganda earlier this year. But this was made possible by key learnings that we had from a lot of people. For instance, we have a friendly collaborator in Cubitts in the UK, as well as ID Conception in France. So technology transfer like that has been key in enabling our appreciation of the new production technology that we are actually piloting in Uganda. We also hired new people, and now we have 1,000 pieces in inventory that will be launched to market within the next 10 days. So over the last few months, we have been very intentional about creating partnerships with distributors that will help us reach more people than we would have reached by ourselves. So far, there are 3 partnerships, as I mentioned, and 10 in the pipeline. And we anticipate that all these in total will help us reach over 100,000 customers. So partnerships are at the core of how we hope to scale, because there's so much work to do, and most of this we can't do in isolation. Thank you.